Hey everybody, this is Will H. the Cinephile, and I just want to say welcome back. And I thought it would be really healthy for me to talk about my four favorite films of all time, and I thought it'd be a proper introduction to my channel. But I thought it'd be great to kick things off with the movie that's been stuck in my head lately, The Big Lebowski. I think this is the perfect warm up before I dive into my top four favorite films of all time, which we'll save for blast. Like those top picks are Scream, Dune Part 2, The Fablemans, and Inception. Now, before anyone jumps into comment on a couple of recent additions like Dune Part 2 and The Fablemans, let me say yes, they're newer films, but they've had a huge impact on me. They've honestly changed the way I see things and reflect who I am as a person. And so they absolutely belong on this list. But for now, let's get into The Big Lebowski. Alright, even though this movie doesn't rank at the top of my list, but it's been lingering in my head and I just need to talk about it. So let's get to it. So anyway, let's like the Big Lebowski, directed by Joel Cohen and written by Ethan and Joel. The Coen brothers really know their stuff. Like this was my second Coen brothers movie after Barton Fink, and then I watched No Country for Old Men, which I think is their magnum opus. But The Big Lebowski is just such an extraordinary comedy. Like it's about Jeffrey Lebowski, or as he calls himself, the Dude, amazingly portrayed by Jeff Bridges. Like, he's this slacker who's so mellow and laid back, just living life without much of a purpose. But then he gets caught up in this ridiculous series of events. The movie is just so hilarious, and the dark comedy, the profanity, everything about it is so funny to me, and in a way, it represents my sense of humor so well. Like, it's dark, it's casual, and it's absurd in the best way possible. Like, I don't necessarily believe in having a single favorite part of a movie, but deep down, the is this your homework, Larry? Is my the is this your homework, Larry? Is my favorite scene throughout the entire movie. Like I just die laughing every time I watch it. Like one of the best parts of that scene is when Walter has Larry's homework in an evidence bag and is just comedy genius. And the way the Coen brothers put that together is so perfect. And then Walter just loses it and shouts, "This is what happens, Larry, when you fuck a stranger in the ass." Bam! And then he smashes someone else's car. Like, it's so absurd. But that's what makes it so funny. It's pure comedic brilliance. Like, and and another sequence I just love is the gutterball dream sequence. Like the dude is tripping out and it's visually grandiose, surreal, and just iconic. Like Joel's direction of that scene is impeccable. Like it's a strange moment in the film, but it fits perfectly. Like that's the beauty of the Big Lebowski. Like it's so weird, but somehow it works. And I can't forget about Jesus Quintana, played by John Turturro. Like he's only in a couple of scenes, but every time he's on screen, I start rolling with laughter. Like his energy is infectious, and even though he doesn't have much screen time, he makes a huge impact. Like his character is one of the funniest side roles I've ever seen. Like to me, The Big Lebowski is a perfect comedy. It's a dark comedy that mirrors my own personality, like cordial, laid back, and a little lazy. But it perfectly encapsulates my dark sense of humor, and it's a movie I could watch over and over again. And I don't think I'll ever get tired of it. Like it's the Coen Brothers' original magnum opus in comedy. Of course, No Country for Old Men is their big magnum opus, but this movie holds a special place in my heart, and I highly recommend it to anyone who hasn't seen it. It may take a couple of viewings to really understand, but once you get it, you see how brilliant it is. Like, thanks to my best friend, my fellow cinephile Nick, for introducing me to the Coen brothers. I've been obsessively watching No Country for Old Men and The Big Lebowski ever since. These two films have become my favorites, and I'll keep watching them for years to come. Alright, so I got that out of the way. So let's dive into my number one favorite movie of all time, Scream 1996. Directed by Wes Craven and written by Kevin Williamson. Like, I can't believe this masterpiece didn't make it into my curated list of favorite films until now. Like, because it's the movie that solidified my love for horror. Like, if you want to understand who I am as a person, just watch Scream. Like, this movie is the reason I'm a horror enthusiast today. Like, it's hands down the perfect movie in every sense. Like, Scream is a perfect blend of horror and satire, even though to this day, like, it took me years to realize that this was a satire all along, but the, like even over the years I've come to realize just how brilliantly it plays on conventions of the genre, the wit, the humor, and the iconic lines that have stuck with me since I first watched it. Like, I quote them word from word every time they say it right on the dot. Like, particularly, my mom and dad are gonna be so mad at me from Stu Macher. Like, even that everybody's a suspect from Randy, and Billy Loomis's iconic line about movies not creating psychos, but but making them more creative. Like, these lines are ingrained in my memory. Like, Scream isn't just a slasher flick, but it's a clever deconstruction of the genre that manages to be self-aware and incredibly intense at the same time. Like, even my girl Neve Campbell's portrayal of Sidney Prescott is one of the finest performances in horror cinema. Like, she embodies the perfect final girl who isn't just a victim but a survival. Like, she like flawed, vulnerable, and strong. Like even Sydney's journey through grief, particularly with the loss of her mother, resonates deeply with me. Her denial and inner conflict about her mother's secret life add a tragic layer to the film that makes it more than than just an ordinary horror slasher flick. Like, her character is the heart of the movie, and her emotional journey makes the horror feel real. Like, what sets this masterpiece apart from many other horror films is its pacing structure. Like, the narrative is so intricately woven, and it takes you on a thrilling ride. Like, the opening sequence with Drew Barrymore's iconic role as Casey Becker is a perfect hook, setting the tone for a film that's both in a bit terrifying and fun. Like, the movie's mix of tension, humor, and clever meta commentary keeps me hooked from start to finish. And the way the characters' relationships evolve throughout the film, particularly Sydney's internal struggle with her mother's past, creates a story that stays with you long after the film concludes. Like, and then there's the legendary ensemble cast. While Stu Macher may not have had the most screen time, portrayed by Matthew Lillard, his presence was just so fucking memorable, like adding a layer of unpredictability to the story. Like, every character from Sidney Prescott and Courtney Cox's character, Gail Weathers, and David Arquette's Dewey, and even the supporting characters brings something special to the table. Like, every single role is essential to making Scream the perfect slasher film it is. Like, even though I might have said this before, but it took me years to truly understand Scream as the satire it is, and the revelation only deepened my admiration for it as someone who has a special affinity for satires. Like, the movie cleverly deconstructs and celebrates horror tropes without ever losing its intensity. The kills are brutal. There's also a certain thrill and excitement that permeates the film. Even after, even though I've watched this film like my entire life, like I'm always on the edge of my seat. The dialogue, the music, the pacing, everything about Scream is executed flawlessly. Like, oh my goodness, like Scream has been a part of my life for as long as I can remember. Hell, I even dressed up as Ghostface for Halloween in third grade, and I've had the Ghostface mask ever since. Like, this movie has shaped who I am, and it continues to impact me today. And I can't overstate just how fucking perfect it is. Like, Wes Craven's direction and Kevin Williamson's writing are two of the greatest achievements in the history of horror cinema. Like, every single aspect of the film, from its clever script to its brilliant direction, works together to create something truly special. Like, when I think about the film, oh my goodness, I don't care if I sound redundant, but the perfect kills, the Ghostface killer's chilling presence, and every meticulously crafted scene, it's clear that this is the movie that represents my love for horror. For those who want, like, you know what? My goodness, I'm in a lost for words, but like, it's not only my favorite movie, it's the movie that made me fall in love with horror and solidified my passion for storytelling and filmmaking. Like, to this day, I regret not having it in my list sooner, but I'm glad it's there now because Scream has always, I mean always, been my number one. It's the movie that shaped my childhood and continues to be a part of my life. Like, it's perfect. I can't stress enough how much I adore this movie. Like, it's a perfect movie, a perfect reflection of my love for horror, and it will always remain my number one favorite movie of all time. Alright, since I got that out of the way, we're going on to Denis Villeneuve's Dune Part 2. Like, since walking out of Dune Part 2 at its opening premiere, I have not been the same. Like, this film has fundamentally changed me in ways I never expected. Like, it is without a doubt one of the two perfect films I consider my life alongside Scream, but I find it nearly impossible to express just how much I love Dune Part 2. But this movie, alongside Scream, stands at the very top of my favorite movies of all time, and I consider them easily as perfect movies. Like, I've never experienced a movie quite like this. The adaptation of Frank Herbert's impeccable novel is so extraordinary that I'm at a loss for words. Like, the sequences in this film, whether it's the Emperor's arrival on Arrakis, the nuclear strike, the arrival of the Worm Army, Paul and Chani's first kiss. Like, there are so many scenes that I can talk about. Like, I practically know every shot and every frame of this movie. Like, every shot and every frame, every action sequence, every single frame, everything. I know every single shot, every single detail that I know, and they are so perfectly executed. Like they continue to blow my mind no matter how many times I watch this masterpiece. Like like I'm like oh my goodness, I'm captivated by every single shot. Like each frame feels meticulously designed to pull me deeper into its world, offering a visual feast I can't get enough of. The grand scale, the immense atmosphere, the intensity. Dune Part 2 grips me like no other film. Like, this is the first movie I've ever watched 3 times in the cinemas. Like, usually I wait for Blu-ray, but Dune Part 2 was different. Like, I saw it first in Epic Theaters XL with my man Justin, and then 2 more times in IMAX. The second time with my homeboy, my fellow cinephile Nick, and the third time being with my Uncle Rick, which he hasn't been in the cinemas for over 20 years. And I fixed that atrocity with this movie. But anyways, and each viewing, whether in in standard theater or IMAX, still feels as grand and spectacular as the first. Like, it overwhelms me emotionally every time. Even today, no matter how many times I watch it, I still feel a sense of devastation and awe that this film brings. Like, it's more than just a science fiction epic, it's an experience that moves my soul. Like, my goodness, even Hans Zimmer's score is an integral part of this feeling. The music intensifies every moment, every scene, giving them weight and significance, like the entire film is a work of art. So beautiful, so so immersive, so mind-blowing that I find it difficult to verbally express how much this movie means to me. Like, my goodness, like I'm overwhelmed by its perfection to the point that I like I don't care if I sound redundant, but like it may sound exaggerated, but I'm serious when I say that this movie is the perfect cinematic experience. Like, to me, it's a remote drop movie. Like, the the one I could watch at any time on any day, and it could still captivate me like it did the first time. Like, I watch this movie twice a week, and I know every frame by heart, but each time, even though I know what's coming, it still blows me the fuck away. I'm constantly in awe of Denis' vision of the film. Like, there are countless moments when I find myself saying the way he fucking visualized this movie. Like, it's the type of movie that makes me quote lines along with the characters the moment they're about to speak them. Even though I quote it before they speak it, because I like to hear their voices when they say it, because it's so, oh damn awesome. Like, the immersion is so total and the execution is so precise. Like, I'm transported into its world, and the way the story unfolds, the shifts in Paul Atreides' arc, especially in that pivotal moment when he gives his speech to the War Council, is perfection. My God, like the way he transformed, embracing this dark messianic figure, but also becoming a fierce warrior. Like, the way Denis Villeneuve handles Paul's character is so exceptional. It's exactly how Frank Herbert envisioned him. Like, there's no misinterpretation of the anti-hero trope, even though he's more of a warrior than an anti-hero. But in like Villeneuve, excuse me, the way Villeneuve masterfully crafts Paul as a tragic figure, a man torn between his duty and his humanity. Like, in my opinion, Dune Part 2, this may be controversial, may even surpass the novel which is an extraordinary achievement in its own right. Like it's a actually it's not extraordinary, it's a rare achievement in its own right. Like that's how much this film resonated with me. Like my god, like every aspect of this movie feels like a living, breathing representation of Herbert's work, while also elevating it to new heights. Like the changes made for the film never feels like betrayals to the source material. They feel like the necessary adaptations to ensure the story works on screen, and in doing so, they only strengthen the film's impact. And I can honestly imagine Frank Herbert sitting beside Denis, nodding in approval, saying, "This is how I envisioned it." Like, and like even and I can't forget about a standout performance which comes from Austin Butler as Fade Routher. The moment he enters the screen, my heart literally drops and races at the same time. Like his presence is so chilling. Like every time he's on screen, I can't help but feel an immense sense of anticipation and and a bit of intimidation. Like his portrayal of Fade is so mesmerizing, and every scene he's in adds an electrifying layer of tension to the film. His arena fight on Gaiety Prime is one of the most unforgettable and the fine forgettable moments, and even the final hand-to-hand combat between Paul and Fade is easily one of the greatest uh, hand-to-hand combat sequences or knife sequences I've ever seen. Like every time the fight comes on screen, my adrenaline like spikes. Like, and I can't help but um like get overexcited and literally like dodge like Paul or attempt to dodge or you guys might know the remedy thing, but you know I like fuck. I'm like go and I just get like I just get genuinely excited even after watching it multiple times. Like the way the way it was choreographed, that sequence beyond anything I could have imagined. Like it's brutal, it's visceral, and it's exhilarating. And like 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 his like this is like it's like to me it's not just a film for me. It's a like Doom Part Two is not just a film for me. Like every moment when I just get like there are or let me refrain it. There are many moments when I just get lost in the sheer excitement and intensity of Dune Part 2. Like to me, it's like a perfect one-off. Like you don't have to see Dune Part 1. Like like in other words, it's not just a film for me. It's a life-changing experience that has solidified my love for cinema, and it has elevated my understanding of filmmaking and storytelling. Like as a cinephile and an aspiring filmmaker, this movie has inspired me in ways I can't even begin to describe. Like the like the way every aspect of the movie, from the directing to the performances to the cinematography, like everything works together is nothing short of perfect. Nothing short of perfect. Perfect. Like like at the at the risk of sounding hyperbolic, you know it's obvious. Doom Part Two is easily one of my all-time favorite film. It's one of my all-time favorite films. Like it's neck and neck to Scream. Like I know some might call this recency bias, but I don't give a fuck. I don't care. This movie is extraordinary in every sense of the word. Like the visuals, the performances, the music, the story, all of it blends together to form a cinematic masterpiece. Even on the big screen or the small screen that you have at home. Like Denis Villeneuve has crafted a film that I'll return to every single time, a time to time again, but mainly twice a week, and it will always have the same impact. No matter how many times I watch it, I can't overstate how much this movie, every frame, every shot, every line. It's a perfect culmination in filmmaking excellence. Like, and like the ending. Every time I see Chani preparing to mount on the sandworm, I get devastated. Like, it's the perfect final image of a film that feels like a journey that has transformed me as a viewer. Like, like I could watch this film every day for the rest of my life and never get tired of it. Like, no matter how many times I watch this movie, the ending always, I mean, always devastates me. Like, I don't, like, it might just be me, but it always devastates me. Like, like, this is without question, like, in other words, like, the bottom line is, this is without question the greatest science fiction movie ever made. The greatest film that Denis Villeneuve has ever made. And one of the greatest films ever made, period. Like this movie deserves all the accolades it will undoubtedly receive. Like, it should win Best Picture, and I don't care if other critics or cinephiles or Oscar experts disagree. Like, it is a perfect movie, and no amount of debate will change my mind. Like, if I could express how much I love Dune Part 2 properly, I would, but every time I try, I get lost in my excitement, and all I can say is this. I love this movie more than any other film I've seen. Like, it's a rare masterpiece, and it will stay with me forever. Forever. Okay, since I got my top two out of the way, and deep down, they may sound redundant when I explain it, but deep down, I personally don't care because I'm showing you how much these movies mean to me. So, we're gonna go on to my number three, which is Steven Spielberg's The Fablemans. Like, this movie is more than a film to me. Like, it's the most meaningful movie of my life. Like, every time I watch it, I feel a whirlwind of joy, warmth, and a profound emotional weight that stays with me. Like, this film is alive with the soul, with an authenticity that makes it one of the most deeply moving and soulful films ever made. Like, Spielberg has delivered a masterpiece, a love letter not only to cinema, but to the human spirit and family. Like, I truly feel this is Spielberg's magnum opus, capturing the essence of his passion for storytelling and leaving a mark that's both universal and personal. Like, to me, The Fablemans is a quintessential love letter to the power of cinema and the resilience of the human spirit. Like, from the very first scene, Spielberg draws us into Sammy Fableman's world, a young boy with an insatiable love for movies and storytelling. Like, watching Sammy wield his film camera with imagination and boundless energy, I see a reflection of my own passion for film and my dream to become a director. Like, the performances are breathtaking. Paul Dano, Michelle Williams, and Gabriel LaBelle give raw, nuanced portrayals that make every character feel real and relatable. Like, the bond between Sammy and his mother Mitzi is one of the most beautiful aspects of the film. Like, their relationship is so authentic, emotional, and filled with both joy and conflict, embodying the sacrifices, tensions, and unbreakable ties of family. Like, it brings me to tears every time, as it so strongly resonates with my own journey and my love for my loved ones. Like this film touches me on such a personal level. Although it centers on a Jewish family, it resonates deeply with me as a Puerto Rican. Like, capturing universal themes of love, family, resilience. Like, Like, Sammy's relationship with his mother kind of mirrors my own experiences with my mother, including all the ups and downs we face together. Like, it feels like Spielberg is telling a piece of my story. Like, each time I watch The Fablemans, I'm like filled with gratitude and pride in my own family. Like, and I'm reminded of the powerful emotional bond we share. Like, I still remember watching it for the first time and bawling my eyes out. Like, I cried so hard. Like, like my goodness. Like, every viewing brings me to that same vulnerable and emotional pace. Like, even the movie's iconic ending, where Sammy meets John Ford, is simply unforgettable. Like Ford's advice when with when he says, "When the horizon's at the top, I mean, when the oh, I screwed up. When the horizon's at the bottom, it's interesting. When the horizon's at the top, it's interesting. When the horizon is in the middle, it is boring as shit." Like that line I can carry with me every day as a storyteller. Like deep down, this movie is such a reminder of how life and art about like it's such a reminder of how art and life are about perspective. Like by the time the credits roll, my soul feels rejuvenated, like filled with a renewed sense of confidence, passion, and purpose. Like the film truly reminds me of why I love cinema and why I dream of creating stories that move people. Like beyond the story, Spielberg's direction and the technical craft of this film are extraordinary. Like watching this movie feels like stepping into a time machine, like as if I'm transported to the 1950s and 60s where Spielberg's story unfolds. Like every frame feels like a masterpiece from another era. Like with the film's cinematography capturing Spielberg's nostalgia and authenticity that makes it feel timeless, it's rare for a modern film to feel so perfectly rooted in its time period. Yet The Fablemans accomplishes this effortlessly. Like I feel like I've traveled back to those decades, immersed in the sights, sounds, and emotions of that era. And I can't forget to mention about Seth Rogen. Like he is a revelation here. Like giving one of his finest performance to date. Like I'm used to seeing him in stoner comedies like Pineapple Express and This Is the End, but his role in The Fablemans reveals a new depth, proving just how versatile and talented he is. Like, like in other words, I just love the new Seth Rogen every time I see that. Like even John Williams' score, though used selectively, is hauntingly beautiful and captures the raw emotion of each pivotal moment. Like his music is so enchanting and perfectly underscoring the film's most meaningful scenes without overwhelming them. Like if it were up to me, The Fablemans would have deserved every award. Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actress, Best Score, Best Cinematography, and especially Best Original Screenplay. Though Everything Everywhere All at Once ultimately took home many awards that year, I'm thankful that the Fablemans won Best Director and Picture at the Golden Globes. Like this film is so extraordinary, so meaningful, and so beautiful. Like it speaks to my soul on a level I rarely experience. Like, and it's one of the only films I'd want to be my last if I could choose. Like the depth, the beauty, and soul of this movie make it feel like the last film I'd ever need to see. Like Spielberg has created something timeless, a testament to a lifetime of passion, a film so breathtakingly beautiful and raw that leaves me in awe every time. Like 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 deep down, this movie doesn't just depict a love for cinema. It captures a love for family, for the moments and memories that define us, and for the people who make us who we are, and this film is a masterpiece that rekindles my love for storytelling every single time I watch it. Like, it reminds me of why I fell in love with movies in the first place, and it makes me want to create stories that touches people's lives. Like, in the end, The Fablemans isn't just a, 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 a film. It isn't just another Spielberg film. It's a celebration of the things we hold closest to our hearts. For me, it's a reminder of my relatives, my family, my dreams, and my love for cinema. Like, it is Spielberg's finest work, and without a doubt, the most meaningful movie of my life. It's beautiful, timeless, and so deeply moving that I can't help but call it a true masterpiece. Like, like Steven Spielberg, you outdid yourself with this semi-autobiographical gem. And you, sir, you good sir, made a goddamn masterpiece. And I hope he sees this video just how I just hope he sees this video and knows how much I appreciate this movie with all my heart. Because, like I said before, are god you sir are a goddamn genie for cinema and film. And that's all I gotta say for his magnum opus. Alright, everybody, we're going to my fourth favorite movie of all time. Last but not least, Inception. Written and directed by my man Christopher Nolan. Like, this is without a doubt one of my favorite movies of all time. Like, when it comes to my top four films, I always have to include a Nolan masterpiece. Why? Because it's Christopher Nolan. Like, he's not just my favorite filmmaker, he's the filmmaker, and Inception to me is the pinnacle of his career. Like, his magnum opus. Every time I watch it, it never fails to blow my fucking socks off, baby. Oh my goodness, like, this movie is the epitome. Hold on. The epitome. I fucked up the word, but anyways, of what an action movie should be. It's a perfect blend of exhilarating action and mind-bending twists. Like, Nolan's meticulous approach to every aspect of the movie, from the writing to the visuals, creates a seamless, lucid journey that is nothing short of extraordinary. Like, the action sequences alone are unforgettable, from the high-octane Mombasa chase to the mind-warping hallway fight to the heart-pounding snow fortress climax. Like, these scenes aren't just visually stunning, like, they're just so fucking immersive and expertly crafted, like adding layers of intensity and wonder with each watch. Like, even the cast is superb, like, with Leonardo DiCaprio delivering one of his finest performances as Dom Cobb. Joining him are a stellar ensemble including Ken Watanabe, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Ellen Page, now Elliot Page, Tom Hardy, and the one and only Cillian Murphy, all of whom bring their freaking A game, man. Like, even supporting roles are handled with incredible care, showcasing Nolan's knack for picking the right talent. Like, it's one of the finest examples of original storytelling where every character feels important and the stakes never feel higher. Like, for me, this is Nolan's defining film. Even though Oppenheimer might have changed my life in a way that no other film could, but Inception is obviously has is has an unforgettable narrative that explores the psychological depths of Cobb, who is driven by the desperate need to reunite with his children. Like, the film brilliantly and intuitively blends personal stakes with mind-bending espionage heist elements while always staying grounded in its characters' motivations. Like, without spoiling too much, this is a film about dreams within dreams, about loss and about redemption. Like, as the layers of the story unfold, more questions arise and the beauty of Nolan's writing become evident. Like, the more you watch Inception, the more details you notice, like the more layers you uncover. It's a film that never stops giving, yo. Like, visually, this is one of the most ambitious and breathtaking films ever made. Like, oh my goodness. Oh my god. Oh my goodness. Like, like, Nolan's direction paired with the outstanding visual effects make this film a true feat. The scope and world building are unparalleled, and every dream world meticulously crafted to feel both grand and intimate. The blend of practicality with CGI results in a stunning sense of realism, making the most surreal moments feel tangible. Like, even speaking of the score, Hans Zimmer's composition is nothing short of iconic. Like, the haunting and powerful score elevates the emotional depth and intensity of the film, adding another layer to the already immersive experience. Even though it's been my longest fantasy to experience on the expansive canvas of the big screen, hopefully they reissue it in IMAX, but it'll be a dream, baby. But deep down, it's one of the greatest scores ever composed, perfectly complementing Nolan's vision. Excuse me. Inception wouldn't be the same without Zimmer's music, which has since become synonymous with the film itself. And and now let's talk about the action. Like, each sequence is more exhilarating than the last, but for me, the standout action sequence, the one that sticks in my mind every time I watch the film, even when my best friend Chase asks me what is my favorite action sequence of all time, and it happens to me that popped in my head is the hallway fight. Like, it's the perfect blend of originality, practicality, and mind-bending physics, even though it's not that type of even though it's not my type of subject I talk about, but the scene defies gravity in such a way that you can't help but be mesmerized by the ingenuity behind it. Like, the way Nolan and his team achieved it using practical effects and minimal CGI is nothing short of genius. Like, it's a perfect example of of like it's a perfect example of what makes Inception so exceptional. Like, every single detail is carefully thought out and every moment feels earned. Like, this is a movie that should have won Best Picture and Best Director, though thankfully Nolan received his well-deserved recognition for Oppenheimer. But still, Inception remains his finest achievement, his magnum opus in my eyes, while films like like other masterpieces, Interstellar and The Dark Knight, are both masterpieces in their own right, which they're also in my list of favorite films. But 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 the truth is, none of them have the personal connection and lasting impact Inception has on me. Like, it represents everything I want from a film: original, intelligent, thrilling, and endlessly rewatchable. But in the end, I don't care what anyone else says, Inception is one of the greatest films ever made. It's my favorite Christopher Nolan movie, and that's not changing anytime soon. And no, I don't need validation from anyone else. This film speaks to me on a deeply personal level, and it defines who I am, and it's a film that will always hold a special place in my heart. Like, this is a perfect action movie, a mind bending odyssey, a work of genius. Like, I love it with all my heart, and no matter how many times I watch this masterpiece, it continues to blow me away. P.S. One thing I almost forgot to mention is that this movie is so extraordinary, even with the ending, which is both beautiful and questionable, leaving me wondering if it's all a dream or if it's really happening. Like, it's one of the most gorgeous endings I've ever seen in action cinema. Truly one of the greatest endings of all time. Like, this movie has a perfect conclusion to an amazing story. Like, everything that I have poured out for this review speaks of why it's one of my favorite movies ever. So, so there you have it, my top 4 films of all time. So this is my proper introduction that I've been planning. So so I want to just highlight this, that these movies represent who I am as a person. Like, each film represents me very well. Like, they speak to me on a personal level, which is with its intricate themes, how the narrative is constructed, how I resonate the characters, or how I compare myself to the characters. Like, every single thing, every single thought, and my heart and soul I poured out into these 4 films are just pure perfection, and they speak to me on a personal level, and they also they this may sound corny, but I kind of don't care because they kind of represent me on how they speak to me on my personal life in a way. Like, it represents me as a person. Each film represents my own person, and they're just perfect, and I just love them with all of my heart. So I hope you guys enjoyed this long and vivid video of my favorite films, my top 4 favorite films. Even though my top 20 to 30 films will be coming soon, but there's a catch. I have this personal curse where I have to experience Jaws on the big screen. And once I experience Jaws on the big screen, all my list, my top 20 to 30 favorite films of all time will be released, along with my honorable mentions, along with my miscellaneous list, which has all the 5-star films, including my guilty pleasure films that I have in my miscellaneous list. Like, it will happen, and it will be released after I see Jaws. And for those who want to break the curse with me, you'll be a lifesaver and an angel. Because Jaws is the movie that I've been dreaming my entire life to experience on the big screen. So, there you have it, and I just want to throw it out there for this concluding statement for this, Jesus, long and vivid video. So, I am happy that I expressed and I got this burden out of my chest, and I'm glad I'm throwing this video out there, and I hope you all enjoy it. And deep down, this is Will H. the Cinephile, and your movie guy is out of here. And also, make sure to like, subscribe, and share my videos, and also check out my Letterboxd account, and also my recent review on Anora. So, see you in my next video, my fellow cinephiles, and I love cinema.